Welcome to Math 0106. We are on Lesson 9. Today we're going to be talking about adding and subtracting decimals. So let's get right to it. So the first question is 231.074 plus 12.637. When you approach a situation like this, what's very important is that we add, starting from right, and we go to the left, as opposed to how we read when we go left to the right. And this is because a lot of mathematics originated in Arabic countries where we read right to left as opposed to left to right. In any case, we're going to start from the right. We're going to work our way left. We start with 4 plus 7, and we add that together. We get 11. Now, because 11 is a two-digit number, we have to carry the 1 over, and we add these. So I'm going to do 7 plus 3 is 10, plus 1 is 11 again. I'm going to do the same procedure and carry the 1. Now I have 1 plus 6, which is 7. We'll put down the decimal place. 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 plus 1 is 4. And then we'll get to 2. And there you have it. And there's our answer. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. Let's look at the next one. So the next one, I'm going to just put it right here. 2.1523 plus 9.6237. And you can rearrange the top number and the bottom number if you want. It doesn't matter. Usually we put the bigger number on top, but it actually doesn't really matter. In any case, so let's tackle this. So 3 plus 7 is 10. We'll carry the 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 3 is 6. Fantastic. 5 plus 2 is 7. 1 plus 6 is 7. And then 2 plus 9 is 11 again. And there we have it. And there's our answer. So we can see pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Let's go on to the next one. 56.314. And we're going to add 17.78. So a couple things first off. As you can see, it's very easy to translate how it's written here horizontally to how I've written it here vertically. Not an issue, just rewrite it vertically. The one thing that is a little different here is that we need another digit here, so we're going to put just a 0. So this is the idea that if you have let's say you have $7. So whether you have $7 or you have $7.00, it's the same thing. So we can tack as many zeros as we want, and it doesn't change the problem. So now we can tackle it. So we're going to just do 4 plus 0, which is 4. 1 plus 8 is 9. 3 plus 7 is 10. 6 plus 1 is 7. 7 plus 7 is 14. Carry the 1, 6, 7. And there's our answer. So keeping the game going. The next one, I'm just going to go ahead and put that number 4. Let's divide this up like so. Let's put number 4 here. So we have 10.07. You can see that I am just recopying the numbers. The one thing that is important when you write this out is that you do keep your numbers aligned. So you need to make sure your vertical and horizontal alignment is correct. The other thing that I want to make sure that I do is the bottom number now has more digits, so I'm going to include some zeros. And from here, all I have to do now is just add. So 0 plus 8 is 8. 0 plus 3 is 3. 7 plus 5 is 12. Carry the 1. This is 1. And this is 10. So I'm left with 10.1238. And there's my answer. All right, let's keep going. Trying to keep... Yeah, I can do that there. So the next one is going to be... We have 3 digits, 3 different numbers rather, and that's not a problem. I think I put that a little too close. 35.8, 319.725, and the last one is 53.614. Okay, so again, I'm just going to include zeros. And you could technically put zeros in front. A lot of people don't like to do that, but if you want to have zeros all the way throughout, you can. Just to keep everything aligned. It's just a question of how your preference. And same thing, start on the right and just add. So 5 and 4 is 9, 2 and 1 is 3. How you approach this is up to you. I'm going to do 8 and 7 is 15, plus 6 is 21. Carry the 2. Notice the decimals keep aligning. 2 and 5 is 7. I'm actually going to go 7 and 3 is 10, plus 9 is 19. It's a little easier. 3 and 1 is 4. 4 and 1 is 5. 5 and 5 is 10. Carry the 1, and there we have the 4. And that's it. So, moving right along, let's squeeze the next one. I'm not going to be able to squeeze the next one here, so let's just do this. Let's just jump to another page and do it on another page. So here you see I've written it all out. Again, what we want to do is put the zeros. Be very careful, keep things aligned. I can put zeros here. If you don't like that, you don't have to do that. And once I have everything aligned, I just add going down. So 5 and 7 is 12. Carry the 1. 1 and 1 is 2. 2 and 2 is 4. On the other side, 4 and 6 is 10. 5 and 4 is 9. So 10 and 9 is 19. Watch the decimal. 1 and 5 is 6. 6 and 2 is 8. 8 and 7 is 15. 15 and 3 is 18. Carry the 1. We have 3 ones in a row, so that's 3. 2 fours, that's 2 twos, which is 4. 4 and 3 is 7. Then we have 9 and 6. And by the way, if you need to write off to the side the sums, you can do that as well. If you want to take on 2 at a time and then take on another 2 and then put those together and pair those, you can do that as well. So if you find yourself making silly mistakes as you work through these problems, that may be an approach to kind of slow down the process of making little mistakes. So find a method that works for you and use that method. Okay. I don't really think addition is all that rough. Just as long as you keep yourself organized, it should be fine. Okay, subtraction. The first case is straightforward. We're just going to subtract directly. So 4 minus 2 is 2. 7 minus 3 is 4. 9 minus 6 is 3. Decimal, decimal, decimal. 6 minus 2 is 4. 4 minus 1 is 3. I do want to stress that it's very easy, and I always do this with subtraction because I'm always fearful. Take the last 2, add them together, and see if you get back to the top. So 2 and 2 gives me 4. 4 and 3 gives me 7. 3 and 6 is 9. 4 and 2 is 6. 3 and 1 is 4. Okay, so that's not the difficult case. You notice that with this subtraction, it's just like addition, except you're subtracting. The next one is where we're going to get into the interesting scenario. Okay, so the problem here, and the reason why this is interesting, is that if I try to do 4 minus 7, that's not going to make sense if we exclude negatives. So what we do is with this thing called borrowing. So I'm going to say 4 is actually 14 because I'm going to borrow 1 from here, from the 7, which is now going to be 6. So in other words, you're really, what we're doing here is we're taking 74 and rewriting it as 60 plus. So we're going to now subtract. So 14 minus 7 is 7. 6 minus 3 is 3. And when I get to the next situation, we have more of the same. So 0 doesn't go into 6. It goes into 10. I'm going to borrow from here. Now this is maybe a little above, a little below. It depends on how I'm rounding. And if you see my final answer, it is roughly 218. The biggest part that I find, myself included in making silly mistakes, is in terms of where I'm borrowing from what. So a way to kind of mitigate errors and mistakes with that is what I like to do is, again, add to check, and then also round to see, hey, how close am I to that? In any case, hopefully that makes sense. And let's go on to another page here, and let's do the next problem. So now we're on to number 9, and they're trying to intimidate you in number 9 by putting it horizontally, but we do the same thing we did before. We just make sure we keep things aligned. We write it vertically, and it's literally the same thing. So 5 minus 1 is 4. 0 minus 7 can't do that, so I'm going to borrow here. I'm going to say 10. I'm going to borrow from here, which is 9. Now keep in mind, this was normally 0, so I had to change this to 9, which means I had to borrow from the 4, so that's 3. So 10 minus 7 is 3. 9 minus 0 is 9. And then we have 39.34. Again, I like to always check. This sort of borrowing from one thing can get a little confusing sometimes, so we can make silly mistakes. So let's double check. So again, we add to see if we get back to the top number. So 4 plus 1 is 5. 3 plus 7 is 10, carry the 1. And 1 plus 9 is 10, carry the 1. And 1 plus 3 is 4. So it does match up. And so, again, we can see that this actually does kind of make sense, because if I have $40 and I borrow 70 cents, it does make sense to that I should be, or this is going to be $39.30. So the rounding, we see that the answer is more or less the same. So again, if you have the ability to check to see that your answers are matching up, I would encourage you to do so. And the more ways you have of approaching a math problem, or any problem in general, the more, and if you're consistently getting about the same answer, that means you're probably correct. So it's important. I always like to try to think in multiple ways to try to get to the same result. And if that works, then that means I'm doing it correctly. So let's look at this here. So we have 6.007 minus 3.2. You see that they wrote it horizontally. Very easy to write it vertically. I'm going to include zeros here because there weren't any, and I like to keep things aligned. And then I'm going to subtract. So 7 minus 0, easy enough to 0. 0 minus 0, easy enough to 0. That means I'm going to have to borrow from the other one. This is going to be 10. So this is 8, and this is 2. Again, I want to double check. Seems to be straightforward, but it's very easy to make a silly mistake. So let's check. So 7 plus 0 is 7. 0 plus 0 is 0. 8 plus 2 is 10. Carry the 1. 2 plus 3 is 5, plus 1 is 6. That makes sense. We can see here that if we round it, we can think of it as 6 minus 3, which is roughly 3. 2.8 is pretty close to 3. I feel confident with my answer. Okay, let's do the next one on another page. So with number 11, we have 456 minus 2.467. Notice how I keep things aligned. Notice how I'm now going to include zeros to make life a little easier to attack the problem. So again, I'm going to have to start doing some heavy borrowing. So this is going to become 10, this is going to become 9, this will be 9, and this will be 5. So notice that if I'm going to borrow from the next one, I drop the number down 1, and then at the very end, this is just 5. And I stop here because 5 minus 2 is possible, so I don't need to borrow again. So keep that in mind. So now we're just going to subtract. 10 minus 7 is 3. 9 minus 6 is 3. 9 minus 4 is 5. 5 minus 2 is 3. And then we'll just bring down the 4 and the 5. And again, I'm going to ask myself, I'm going to check this by adding back up. 3 plus 7 is 10. Carry the 1. 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 plus 6 is 10. Carry the 1. 4 plus 5 is 9. 9 plus 1 is 10. Carry the 1. 3 plus 2 is 5. Plus 1 is 6. And then we have 5 and 4. Really, 4 and 5 if you read left to right. Okay, so that makes sense. And one other way, again, we can check is if we take 456 and we round, I'm going to say 456 minus 2 is going to give me 454, which is still pretty close to 453.5. So the big thing here that I would be concerned with is, and if you probably missed this, is you didn't keep things aligned. So if you checked it with the bottom method, if you had moved the 2 over, you'd be subtracting 20, which wouldn't make sense. So keep that in mind, especially if the final is multiple choice, or if a test is multiple choice. Sometimes you can just eliminate answer choices based off common sense. So 12, we have 23 minus 3.198. Once more, I'm going to put a decimal, put some zeros, and we're going to attack it. So we're going to actually end up borrowing from everything. So this becomes 10, this becomes 9, this becomes 9. This actually has to become 12, because if you drop it down to 2 minus 3 is not going to be able to work. And that's going to become 1. And let's go. So it's 2, 0, 8, 9, and then 1. And we'll add to check. So if we add back, 2 plus 8 is 10, carry the 1, 1 plus 9 is 10, carry the 1, 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 8 is 10, carry the 1, 1 plus 9 is 10, plus 3 is 13, carry the 1, and it's 2. So it does seem to be matching up. We'll check one other way. We'll round these and we'll say 23 minus 3 gives me roughly 20. 19.8 is roughly 20. Sounds good. Okay, so now we're on to number 13. And this is just more of the same. So we're just going to do the same thing. Just extra practice. Hopefully at this point, you are easily getting this and you're able to just check to make sure you're getting the right answer. So that's a pretty straightforward problem. The only issue there is to make sure that you write it vertically. The next one, number 14, 7.74 minus 2.34, more of the same. 4 minus 4 is 0, 7 minus 3 is 4, 7 minus 2 is 5. I get 5.4. Again, I'm going to check, add 4. 4 and 3 is 7, 5 and 2 is 7, so it makes sense. You could also technically, if you wanted to, if you subtract 8.34 from 1.62, you should be getting 6.72. So if you wanted to do that to check it, you could. Again, you could also round. You could say, for example, here you could say this is roughly, choose 6 or 7. Let's say I say it's 7. I say 1.62 is roughly 2. Add them together, I get 9. That makes sense. And notice that for both of these, I rounded up. So it makes sense that 9 is a little bit higher than 8.34, which is my final answer. So there are little ways of guessing, and there are little ways of guessing in a certain sense to kind of either give you like an upper bound or a lower bound, depending upon how you're looking at it. And the same thing's true here. So if I actually round it down, I have 7. And the other one is 2, and 7 minus 2 is 5. So because these are both greater than the numbers I rounded to, it makes sense that 5 would be kind of like a lower bound. And but it's whatever works. You don't even have to go to that extent. We just want to see that the numbers are pretty close. You want to just make sure you're not making some sort of huge error of like shifting incorrectly. Okay, so 15 is trying to be a little bit harder because things are not aligning exactly. We know we just add the 0 and then we attack. So 0 plus 2 is 2, 6 plus 1 is 7, 5 plus 7 is 12, carry the 1, we get 8. Again, if I said this is roughly 30 plus, let's say 30 plus 50, that's going to give me 80. 82 is pretty close to 80, seems pretty correct. And we are on to the last one, 8.7 minus 7.8. Again, I can't do 7 minus 8, so we'll borrow 17. This is 7. This is going to give me 0.9. And it makes sense because if we round, we have 9. Let's say we round up, we go 9 minus 8 is 1. And 90 cents is pretty close to $1, so that makes sense. So this addition shouldn't be too bad. Just make sure you align numbers up correctly. Take your time and check your work. Especially if it's a high stakes exam, you don't want to we're all capable of making silly mistakes. So You always want to check your work to make sure that you don't make a silly mistake. So hopefully that makes sense. If there's any issues or concerns, like always, email me, post a comment, and I will respond as soon as possible. In any case, hopefully this was enjoyable, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.